Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Arwin, Sleeping Warrior, Mark Doxy, and half the panel have gone.
Sniped.
We've lost half the panel before I can even introduce them. What a wonderful start.
Nate,
I'm
start.
still in here for some reason, by the way.
It was that Hannah, wasn't it?
Marvellous. Well, we have got a Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, and Arwin. How are you all doing?
Can we start up another one, Nate?
Yeah, that was a really
yeah, I
great
don't see
guy.
why not. But we won't
Yeah.
get any of those guests back in unless I publish the link immediately, and that would just mean that we'd let all the trolls in that we've already kicked. But I'm willing to if you want me
and
to.
Alan can re-kick them. I
Okay,
enjoyed
we'll start a new
Control.
one. No problem. I'll do that right now. Let's immediately transition
It's
to
a
the
shame
boring
the
photos.
actual normal people.
Cut you off. Go to the new events page. Ah, lovely. Fun. Good start to the show. This should be the work of but a moment. This is not my first rodeo. Welcome to the show. You don't know. Right, there we go. Let's get this link out in Skype first of all. Anybody in the Master Betas chat, you will get it immediately. If you could join just to fill the panel up so we don't get any, what's the word? Wankers, that's the one. There you go. Skype participants. Can tell already it's going to be a fun-packed show. Send a little message. Whoops, wrong one. Send a message to the happy chat. Share. Hopefully we'll actually get some guests back shortly. Hey, Arwin.
Ooh.
Hello. Got to level everyone up again now, haven't I? Good to have you, Arwin. Good that you've kept the conversation rolling nicely.
Yeah, thanks. Trying to get into back chat.
Say again?
Yeah, I'm currently trying to get in. There we go.
Fair enough.
Right, so I'm in.
Hello,
So bring
Sleeping
it on.
Warrior. Rough start. Let's get the Hangouts page back up for the audience. Hello, chat. Let's do some shout-outs while this chaos ensues. Hello, Ute. Hello, Robert. Hello, Brazilian Goddess. Tom. 444 The Truth. Andres. Good to have you all. Thunderdome. Thanks for being in our chat room. Ninja Man. Nice to see you. And everyone else in the chat. 80 odd people currently watching.
Yeah, we had a great conversation during the break. And yeah, as soon as we started up, everybody got sniped again, so too bad.
Bummer.
Right, so
I hope
I've
I get back in.
emptied that previous hangout.
Okay, well, let's get the new link out. So, you all ready for troll swatting?
Yes.
As
Yes.
we're all going to this is going to be a troll-infested show, as the last one wasn't.
Yeah, certain people are awake. Morning, Tim.
Let's do this. I've got my Razer mouse. Let's go. Let's do this. Links in the info box. We're ready for you. Bastards.
Open the gates.
Hey, Normie.
Hello.
Hello.
What's happening today?
Ooh, that was interesting.
What's
I
that?
didn't see Normie appear then. I had the wrong window open. Dope.
You didn't boot me, did you?
Nope.
New and old, good to have you. Noah D, good to see you. Pete Shea, hello. Special magical kind of bonkers that Pete Shea is. You gotta love him.
Agent Shay.
Agent Shea.
Actor Shay.
Shea butter.
Yeah. If anyone out there wants to make an anagram of Pete Shea's name, I'm sure there's something Freemasonic about it.
I wonder
So what
whether
do you
Pete
guys
got any
know?
pet
Anyone
name.
found any curvature yet? Any proof of R?
No, nil point. So anybody in the chat wants to join for the sake of taking places? Like, let's get some people in.
The link is indeed public. Chocolate Assassin. Maybe refresh your page. The link is in the info box, right where it says join the show here. Hey Derwin, good to have you.
Shea anagrams to eat sheep.
Eat sheep. Is that
Yeah.
Ballad Fry? If I can read at this distance. Eat sheep. Hey, A Plain Truth, good to have you. The Plain Truth, I should say.
Right, Flat as Fuke's going to join. Ali.
Hey Ali.
And also hates pee.
Is that Ali B?
Yeah,
Is it the real one?
I think so. He's got a new icon, which hardly anybody's seen to replicate.
Hey, Ali.
Shout out
Right,
to
Flat as Fuke's joined.
Legendary
Don't
Looming
kick.
Non-Standard Refraction Hyena. Good to have you in the chat.
Who is flat as Fook?
Friend.
Ah.
Safe. So, we could do with the other guy coming back in, because we were just having a good conversation about NASA. And see, he said, why should they tell you too many of the truths? Well, imagine that you're in charge of NASA and you're in charge of press releases. If you knew what the world that we lived in, whatever it may be it flat, round, or something else, because let's be honest, there could be another explanation for what we live on. Doesn't have to be flat; it can be something else. Ultimately, it's like, well,
no globe in the house. Owen.
Hey, No Globe.
Dark Knight, friend or foe?
Yo, hello.
Hello, good to have you, Dark
1,
Knight.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yo,
7.
hello.
We need 2 more placeholders at least. Anybody wants to join?
Dark Knight is Chocolate Assassin. Chocolate saying.
Chocolate saying yes.
And no Globe Zone.
And
Say
Jose.
back.
Yo, I might change my name to presuppositional sphere hedgehog.
Is there a way to prevent getting sniped?
Yeah, if the panel's full, no one can join that's an unfriendly person, and we've one more person, I think, and we'll have a full panel, so, you know, that'll be it. If no Globers join, so be it.
No, I mean, like, is there a way to stop it?
Nope.
Like,
Nope.
No.
stop it from happening?
Negative.
No. Oh. That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah,
bit.
it does.
It's interesting though.
Hang out life.
So I get to use my Batman icon, so it's all good.
Dark Knight. Nathan, didn't you finish the other live chat before this one?
It's the same. So because I stream on OBS, technically the stream never actually has an end to the chat. So if you were to stay in the chat, because I leave it up on my screen, I often watch people tick by for hours, and I mean that sincerely, hours arguing in the chat because it never goes. So people just stay there loitering.
I try to avoid doing that myself these days.
Yes.
You need to try harder.
The chat's not so bad these days. The early days of these debates, the chat was the pits. It was vile. Now, without any moderation, it's moderated itself. You know, it's not so bad. There's hardly any spam. So yeah, can't moan.
Until somebody like Patricia joins or Karen B, and then all of a sudden, out they all come, and like Man United fans, they come out.
Hey,
You watch
I
if United
posted
win
a
today, they'll be all over the internet.
I posted a picture on the sorry.
Yeah, I
Posted
saw
a
that,
picture on the
Jose.
Hangouts chat of the power lines on Louisiana, soundless power lines, and it doesn't look the way he presented. It's just a Google image I found.
No, I agree. It can't be replicated. Soundly somehow is doing something. I agree with Normie. He's doing something to make it look curved, and it's not. He's either going at a certain time of the day when he knows the conditions are ripe, or he's doing it post production somehow. I don't care about the claims about he's done it live. I don't care. Nobody's been able to get it the way that he's showing it, and I agree with Normie.
Yeah, the top of the power lines, when it's getting further away, it appears to be curving, but you can see the bottom, all the base, and it goes straight, even above the apparent horizon. So it's just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Well, we know that the turbines at Ranty shows, all the ballers constantly say things like, "Yeah, why are the blades touching the ground?" And the answer, of course, is it's an optical effect caused by the light, whatever the light's doing. You know that the turbines are not in the water, so we know that that happens, and that's perceivable. You can probably expect the same at Pontchartrain. The tops of the pylons are going to be similar to the turbines, and they are going to bend down. However, the bottom of it, we can replicate that phenomena with massive thanks to Phuket Word. Nick at Phuket Word got us a video that did the same thing. And then guys don't accept that because they say it's not over water, it's over a flat road, a hot tarmac or whatever. Yet the optical effect is exactly the same, and they dismiss it because they want to. Same effect, but dismissed.
Yeah, subscribe to Phuket Word if you've not done already. Great little very short, concise demonstration videos that state the obvious. It's easy for me to say that, but to some obviously it's not. So yeah, Phuket Word, Nick, great guy. Subscribe if you've not done it already.
Yep, he gets a bad time from the baller's side, but a lot of his videos are good. They don't like them, and that's why he's over the target. The more over the target you are, the more attacks you get. And anybody that sees Rumpus out and about, make sure Rumpus gets to know that he's got work outstanding that we want to see. We want to see the maths. Come on, Rumpus, let's see what you've done.
I think they're boycotting again.
No, they don't want to come in because they know that once we start looking at the maths, we're going to ask them a couple of key questions, and they're not going to be able to explain it. Yeah, they can make it look pretty with maths, and if something is explained with maths, does it make it true? Well, that's their position that they're going to have to argue that it is true. And obviously, we're going to say so. Maths makes our world what it is, right? Not evidence, right? So ultimately, if you believe the maths is the explanation for the world in which we live, anything other than a baller. But if you realize that the maths isn't the answer, maths is simply an explanation by numbers. It's like painting by numbers when we were kids. Maths is painting by numbers for adults on flat Earth. But if once you realize that, then just because the maths works out, don't make it true.
Hence the boycott.
Once when I started watching the show, I would come on and this panel would literally be all like 98% ballers, all arguing with you guys, and slowly but surely, like that's falling off now. Like if
Chad
there's
in the
2
chat
or 3
says,
of them in here, it's crazy.
Chad says the
Like
Hangouts
where
full
are
or I'd
they?
join. Is anybody willing? I'm sure Flat as if you can drop, or somebody who's not talking.
I'll drop if you want, Nathan.
Yeah,
Thank you
great.
very much, Ali.
Thanks, Ali.
Yeah.
Feel free to
Aye,
join,
no problems,
Chad.
No problems. Keep it up.
Yeah, I remember when Curved Water used to turn up every day like a regimented soldier.
Curved Water, Paul Voigt.
Hey, Chad,
all
good
these
to have you.
guys.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Well done,
good to have
sir.
you.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you for joining.
Yes, I can.
Thank you for following the instructions to speak the minute you joined.
Yeah, the last time I waited even 5 seconds.
Yep, you'd have got swiped out probably by me. Sorry. That would be my fault. I'll take full responsibility.
I like your curtains.
Pardon?
I said I like your curtains, Chad. Very Twin Peaks.
Oh, thanks. Hey, can you give me 1 second? I have to turn some things off here.
Sure.
No worries. You're not being displayed to the public anyway.
Nathan, I remember when Curved Water used to turn up every day, right? He'd sit there every day like a placeholder. And And I didn't get why he would do it at the time. I mean, why would a baller come and sit on your panel, right, and just sit there? And it was quite daunting if you're kind of 50-50 on the fence, if you kind of, because he's got this like condescending, patronizing tone that sounds, he's got a voice for, a voice for radio, right? And if he doesn't show his face, then he sounds really endearing. I mean, I quite like Curved. Doesn't come on anymore. Why? I don't know.
You know, Pete Shea described him as the baby out of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You know, the cigar.
Well, it's interesting how the group dynamics of the ballers works.
Hey,
there
Mark.
should be actually a thingy.
They're like a pack of wolves.
I mean, they were really in here, like attacking you guys as a team.
Yeah.
You know, like everything. Because when I started watching, it was like when you guys were doing the Isle of Man stuff. Shout out to Tough the Trees.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, like they were going at you guys.
Yeah. But that's obviously because I was being called a liar. And I'm like, I'm the one that's here every day standing my ground. I couldn't make it every single day, but I was there most days. And those that were calling me liars were giving me the best that they could give me. And at the end of the day, we got to find out what the bottom line was. And the bottom line was, sure, we weren't seeing Ireland as I first thought, but also the Earth can't be a ball because they brought back the tippy tops of stuff and claimed that they brought back all the land. No, they hadn't brought back the land. They brought back just the tippy tops of it. So on the one hand, we had to make the concession that it wasn't Ireland, but on the other hand, they claimed a victory to which they weren't entitled to. They claimed that we could see this land, therefore it was consistent with the spheroid Earth. Me and Nathan were like, that's nonsense. That's not consistent at all. Bringing back the tippy tops of one peak of a mountain doesn't bring back all the land that was seen. And then when I went down to do it from the beach, at their request, then it was a game changer. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know how they can argue against it, even with refraction.
They have to be organized to even stand a chance in this debate. They can't, unlike us, they can't face the chaos.
I tell you what has changed. The tables have changed in that this used to be a flat, a ball earth, a predominantly ball earth panel, or mainly ball earthers, and flat earthers were really reluctant to come on. And now it's flat earthers have realised that this is actually a safe haven. We can come on and we can chat, and we might not all agree on everything, and there are points where we don't agree on stuff completely, but we all realise it's not a ball, and that as long as we have that consensus at the start and we realise that it ain't a ball, then anything goes. And as long as we can disagree respectfully and we don't dwell on points for too long, if we don't agree, we move on. But now it's a safe haven for flat earthers, and that's the way it should be, in my opinion. Well, in maths, sure, it might be able to be done in maths, but in maths, you need 3 planes to pull down 3 buildings, right? You can't pull down 3 buildings with just 2 planes. Yet everybody accepts 2 planes cause 3 buildings to collapse. So yeah, just because you can do it with maths, don't make it real world, right?
Anthony, what's the square root of -9?
I have no idea.
That's a real mystery. That is. It's actually +3. Because
no, it's
Oh, wait,
impossible.
Sorry.
You can't have a square root of a minus number.
Exactly. That's the way maths works. I'm just supporting what Anthony's saying there.
Right.
Well, fantasy becomes reality in the world of mathematics.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. So you can explain stuff with maths, but unless you can prove that it's the real world, then the maths is merely an explanation. It's painting by mathematics, painting by numbers. You need 3 planes to pull down 3 buildings if that was the cause. Most people can't even get their head around that. Most people struggle. You need 3 planes for 3 buildings. And those that do struggle with it resort back to the official narrative. Yet you and I looking at it thinks, right, you need 3 planes, dude. You've only got 2 planes. How are you going to pull the 3rd building down? And that's assuming that the planes were the cause. But for the sake of discussion, we'll just accept that the planes were the cause. Where's the 3rd plane? That building came down all by itself magically.
There were no planes, Anthony.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, I'm making the point about maths being the explanation, but not necessarily the cause. And 9/11 is the best example I can come up with because you need 3 planes, right? And a lot of doofuses in this discussion don't even realize that.
Sorry to bring you off this.
Pancake theory.
Sorry to bring you off this 9/11
theory.
subject. I've just figured out how to get the audio for this. Can I just play you this? Can you see? And let me know if you can hear it.
Argument that the sun.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Argument that the sun's rays are tangible, but you can't do that for radio waves. But you can't do that for radio waves. No, you cannot. You cannot perceive radio waves by touch. You cannot. Come on, psycho. Go ahead, back up that claim. You said yes, you can. So do it. Do it. Come on. Is that a little bit of smoke? Nope. You're not thinking about it. You're not even thinking about it.
Curve, you're like a 5-year-old.
Perceive radio waves by touch. Validation, boy.
That's not the issue at hand.
That is exactly the issue at hand. Perceive radio waves by touch. Validation, boy.
That is 100% red herring, and you know it.
Being imperceptible is not invalidation. You are invalidation.
Where's that come from?
I made it.
Pardon?
I made it.
You made it?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's
yeah, it was great timing with the blowing smoke. Even in it's awesome.
I was like, why is he playing Roger Rabbit?
So in that case, then, who was what was the name of the rabbit? Not the, the big busted red-headed person that played in that thing. What was it?
Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit. We need somebody to take on the mantle of Jessica Rabbit. If we've got curved water in the pram, we need a Jessica Rabbit.
I think Patricia could do.
Yeah, Patricia's a redhead. She could do that.
She actually looks like.
Yeah.
And then we need the guy with the pram. Was it Danny DeVito? That, by the way.
You can be that big gorilla bouncer from the bar.
Thanks. I don't remember who framed Roger Rabbit. It was a long time ago since I last seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Yeah.
Great film. It's a truth film, and a cryptic film explaining the truth about our cartoonish reality that we've been indoctrinated to live in.
So was the guy with the pram pulling the baby around, was that Danny DeVito?
Bob Hoskins.
No, that was
I can't believe you say it's Danny DeVito. Yes. Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins.
Yeah. Bob.
It's definitely not Danny DeVito.
No, Danny DeVito's a lot smaller.
Do you know, every time I see Danny DeVito, I always think of that one line in Twins where Arnold Schwarzenegger was trying to describe to him why it was that he was all the muscle and the brains and the good looks, and Danny DeVito was
and all the crap.
Shit that was left
all
over.
The crap went into you.
Yeah, all the shit that was left over. It's one of the best lines ever.
I wonder how they felt on set.
I bet they got on dead well, you know.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's the doctor. He's saying the embryo split, but when it split, it didn't split equally. All the goodness and because they've spliced together all these like 25 genius professors who are all in the peak of physical condition. And he says when the embryo split, all of the goodness out of these doctors and all the genius out of these doctors went into Arnold Schwarzenegger, and all the crap left over went into Danny DeVito.
It's got to be one of the best lines ever in a movie.
Oh. Yeah, I love that movie.
Genius, genius, genius.
But yeah, so don't you think that the schematic now of the panel becoming predominantly flat earthers, flat earth friendly, having conversations, not necessarily agreeing with everything that's said, but at least realizing that we're not on a ball? The dynamic of the panel's totally changed now. There are no ballers coming in here batting the, and obviously they dismiss it. They dismiss it rubbishly, like, oh, it's rubbish, Nathan's chat. Yeah, it's just a circle jerk. Yeah, but you're all free to join, and you all ruin it by troll infestations, don't you?
It is a bit of a hostile environment, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is.
Troll Central.
Well, you should have seen the earlier shows. It was completely dominated by ballers. So it ebbs and flows. You know, at the moment, it's more flat Earth friendly. We get more flat Earthers on. You know, it's not always that way.
What I've noticed is that once a baller gets spanked on on live on a live show, they tend to not come back.
Yeah, M. Scott Veach got spanked, didn't come back. Paul Voigt got spanked a couple of times, never come back. Curved, spanked numerous times, never, enough's enough, never come
I
back.
don't think Ruhif
The
hasn't
trick
been back.
is to never to make a claim and then you don't get spanked.
The only one that breaks that mold is Rumpus.
Yeah, did you guys spank Ruhif? Where's Ruhif?
I spanked Ruhif. He hasn't been back since I argued with him about the atmosphere atmosphere being dragged by the surface of the earth.
Well,
Yeah.
to be fair to
Coriolis?
Yeah,
to be fair to
Coriolis.
Ruhif,
If Ruhif
He's been
returns,
gone since the Coriolis?
if Ruhif returns, he will have to accept that he is absolutely in contradiction with the Coriolis effect in terms of what he think actually happens. So that's the first admission he'll have to make.
Oh.
He has not been back since, though.
Yeah, but to be fair to Ruhif, and I'm not
like-
defending him, but Nathan's gone on now at 2 p.m. instead of like 11 or 12. That puts him at like midnight, 1 o'clock for start time, and that's probably too late for him.
That's true. We start, the first show starts 10 o'clock in Oz for him, 10 p.m. So yeah, it's about 11,
I wish it started at 10
11:30
o'clock
p.m.
here.
now. There.
That would be lovely.
No, that's not right, Nate. If you starting at 2 p.m., that's 11 p.m. for him.
I thought it was 10. I looked it up.
Yeah,
I often
I
get
think
it
it's
wrong when I
2
look it up.
a.m.
No, if it's 2 p.m. here, you take 3 hours off in summer and then switch AM to PM. So 2, 1, 12, 11 o'clock at night it starts.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
Definitely.
It's 9
Fair
a.m.
enough.
here it starts.
I'll have to change it on the info page. Oh well.
Yeah, I'm in the Eastern time zone as well.
Which sucks because I'm at work every day. So
This is
I
why
can
I
only
said to you,
come on
Nami, that
when
was
I'm
your
off.
time right? Sorry to interrupt you, Dark Knight. When I was saying about the time zones, when you were looking at what you were looking at with Chris yesterday, I was like, are you sure the time's right? Because it's so easy to get it wrong. Not that I think it makes any difference in that particular example, but that's why I asked.
Yeah. Time zones prove the globe.
You reckon?
I've heard people argue that before.
Okay. Well, yeah, but that's a very...
The Azimuth equidistant map was a map based on time zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works quite well for that exact purpose, but that's all it works well for. It's an equidistant projection, so when people start plotting stuff across the side angles of it, you're like, well, that's not how the map's designed to work. Of course it'll fail. But anyway, that's a different issue altogether. We don't have any flat Earth maps. You know, that's just
I
a
think I finally
fact.
have a question.
Go ahead.
Is your claim that it's not a ball, is that the only one you're making?
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
welcome back. Believe it's a thief.
No, I mean, I would
always
claim that
reluctant
it's...
to argue that it's flat, but
I
it
would-
basically appears as flat.
I would claim it's obviously and observably flat.
Yeah, but Nathan can't prove it worldwide, and there is no science. There's not enough science going into flat Earth, so I'm more reluctant and cautious to argue that. Although when it comes to it, if I'm pushed for one or the other, curved or flat, I will go with flat because it's definitely not the curve that they tell us it is.
I think
Rule out curve.
a better question is it heliocentric or geocentric? I think that's a better question.
I'd agree, and I'm not against it being geocentric, but you've got to prove that curve.
I don't think that's a better question because it's neither, really.
No, but geocentrism can still work.
No, you can have a
on the
geocentric flat Earth. You can have a
Geocentrism
geocentric flat
If you
Earth.
can show a flaw in the heliocentric system, you've got your opponent then having to rethink things through.
Yeah, but geocentrism is still an orbital based.
No, it's not. Well,
Not
it's orbital
necessarily.
based, but we do see that the stars and the celestial bodies above us do seem to go round us.
Yeah, but to call it an orbit that means that it's going around an orb, right?
So
That's what
do you...
orbit refers to.
So you're saying it matters whether it's a heliocentric or a geocentric?
No, what we're saying is that it's not a ball.
No,
I don't think it's a not-
heliocentrism is completely impossible on the flat Earth, but geocentrism basically just says, okay, the Earth is the center point. It doesn't automatically imply outer space and a bunch of globes out there.
What I mean is
The word
that
orbit has the word orb in it.
the reason why I say that is that if you mention the word flat Earth, you open yourself to ridicule.
Yeah, I'd rather call myself a round earther.
And so you have to handle that. Whereas if you quickly get the conversation to geocentric or heliocentric, then there's no ridicule involved in that. You've got your opponent thinking, well, is it or isn't it? and I start there and then introduce flat Earth at a later point until we can get the person thinking, well, is it geo or helio?
I think
it's always good to start out with just little details and only bring in the flat Earth when the person that is going into discussion with you
You've got to
really
avoid
shows that he can handle that type of.
You've got to
thing.
avoid the mocking and then the ridicule, and get them to seriously stop and think, well, what exactly did I mean by, are you a flat earther? I like the way Dell does it on Beyond the Imaginary Curve. He totally avoids that flat earther pigeonhole, and that's the way I aim for as well.
I was going to ask.
I think the best approach. I'm sorry. The best approach for me is to identify what is a belief and taking things on face value of faith, or what is a knowing and anything that everybody can prove.
I think you could argue that the Earth isn't spinning, right? I think most people can comprehend intuitively the arguments against the rotation of the Earth, and if you can break them out of that trance.
Yeah, that's a good starting point as well. I would agree on that.
Well, but it does tend to be a little bit harder because there is still the spinning globe of the heavens and the stars out there, and yeah, then you'd have to explain all that, because that is usually what people then intuitively take as some sort of evidence that the Earth is spinning. So
yeah, I know, but there's like a lack of
spinning thing usually comes in a little later in
There's a lack of physical consequences of the spin on the surface of the Earth, and most intelligent people can pretty readily grasp that. Like the fact that the east-west flights problem, the rotation of the alleged rotation of the atmosphere, Coriolis effect, things like that, right?
They're all good
But
starting
that's all more specialized knowledge. So if you have a physics person that's well studied in that kind of thing, then you can shove that in their faces. But the generalized public, they don't really know the nitty gritty details of that sort of thing usually.
Well, I said an intelligent person, but I think the east-west flights isn't really a specialized kind of knowledge. I think most people are familiar with that idea.
Let me ask a question to the panel members.
What about not even just the east-west flights? What about the north-south flights?
Yeah, that too. But the east-west is a good basic example, right? And
no, I get that, but I mean, like with the north-south flights, it's like, think about these planes trying to land in a north-facing direction while the globe is splitting east. Like, just that visual itself should be enough.
Yeah, enough to stop people to stop ridiculing and think about it.
Yeah, but people don't want to think.
Well, I've converted like 4 or 5 people to the flat Earth that I know personally, and I've started with that approach with all of them, and it seems to work.
What's your first question to them then, Normie?
I don't usually start with a question. I usually just start describing the problems with the rotation, and try to just break down the physical problems that accompany the idea of a rotating Earth.
Okay, so I come to you with you're one of those flat earthers, are you? With a mocking tone. What would you ask me?
Yep.
If you came with a mocking tone, I probably wouldn't bother talking to you. I mean,
I wouldn't even care. I'd laugh. I'd laugh at them. I'm at that point. I don't even care anymore.
Oh, okay. We'll try it again then. Normie, what do you depend on for your position that it's a flat Earth?
What do I depend on?
Yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate here. All right, I'm a globe earther. I've got beyond the mocking, and I'm now genuinely interested. I still believe that the Earth's spinning. What's your first question, or how would you tackle me?
Well, I would ask you to explain how it is that east and west flights can take approximately the same length of time, despite the fact that the Earth is rotating toward the east. And so such that if you were flying west, you'd imagine that you would meet your location much more quickly than if you were chasing it as it moved away.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'll try that one as well.
I found that one is like people can like you can easily sort of describe it just like using a globe or showing it on Google Earth or something, and that it's very comprehensible for people because you've got a thing moving one way and then you're moving the other way, right? So it's just moving one way and moving the other way. People can pretty easily grasp that.
Well, that gets them, that stops them and gets them thinking, but then they're going to come back with, well, because the atmosphere moves with the same speed as the Earth.
Yeah, well, then you can dig into that and explain how that doesn't make sense either. And it really doesn't.
I think water is a better argument.
Well, they're all great arguments, right? Each one of them is
a
matter of like how comfortable are you, what's your own approach. I'm just saying the approach that I have, I've had some success with, so I think it's a good one.
It seems to start with the moon landings, don't you think? Because because the pictures from space and stuff, they're what everybody thinks straight away. So even if we talk about the shape or bolts over the horizon or anything, it's the pictures from space we've got to get rid of straight away first.
I don't even know
anyone. And if they still believe in the moon landings, like you can't even speak to them about that.
That's it. So it has to start from there, it seems.
I don't even have a single friend who believes that the moon landing was real. Nobody, everybody knows the moon landing was fake now. It's just these ballers on the internet who act like everybody still thinks it, but actually, like, probably about 90% of people are.
That was a start for me.
That was one. You can defeat it with one word. You just say backdrops. That word destroys the moon landings.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And people don't want to seem like idiots, right? So even if they kind of still think there might be a moon landing, they usually keep it to themselves.
It seems like some lie that got started and now it's getting worse and more exaggerated, and then it's like also around space.
It's also a pride thing. There are a lot of people who will not dismiss the moon landings. Like, I'm American, and a lot of people in America will not dismiss that because of their love of America. And they don't want to come out and say, "Oh, we didn't fake anything. We didn't fake going to the moon."
I don't want to step on anybody, but can I ask a couple of questions?
Go ahead.
Sure, man.
I'm hearing quite a few reasons, I suppose. I want to ask, what is sort of, let me think about how to ask this now. Sorry. If you, so you're not, so a few of you are making a claim that the Earth is flat, and a few are just saying that it's not round, right? If it's not round, like what's your best argument, your best evidence that it's not?
Well, there's no science for a flat Earth, right? Wouldn't the onus be on the taxpayer to be able to fund it so that we can establish it ourselves? Or has it already been established and they just need to tell us?
There's no scientific evidence of curvature whatsoever. And every kind of test that you try to make of the shape of the Earth strongly favors a flat or geometry.
That's something I can think about. What's your confidence that it's not round, right? Like, is it like a lot or
curvature?
99
for starters.
There's no evidence to prove any curvature, and on a spheroid of the size that they tell us, we should be able to observe it, measure it, verify it, repeat it, and we shouldn't need expensive equipment to be able to do it because it's not as big as what we are told. It's a geometric size of which we can test. So there is no observable, testable, verifiable curve. But the same said for axial rotation and gravity. Them three things don't exist. There's no evidence to prove them. And then when you look at it, take that a step further and look at the peoples that's responsible for basically doing this kind of exploratory stuff, the likes of science or NASA, and then you look at NASA's stuff and see that they're lying about a lot of the stuff they're showing us, then they become not credible. So what else are you left with? The remaining body of science. So then you can look into the science and they can see that these push the narrative for the Cavendish experiment to prove gravity, yet it's not repeatable. It's not observable. You can't repeat it. They say it's been repeated in universities up and down that like the whole world.
Can I get a clarification on what you're saying? Are you saying that it's impossible to know, or that we just don't have any way of doing it now?
No, I don't know whether it's impossible or not. It's an unquantifiable perception, isn't it? Because we don't know what we live on. We just know that
It's
it's not a
simply
ball.
the proposed experiment to prove it is just a machination. It's a nonsensical system that really does not prove it.
Okay. So if we, let's say that's correct. If there, for some reason, we together would be able to come up with a way of testing this to your satisfaction, like what would that change your mind?
Absolutely, of course.
Well, it would have to. It would have to survive scrutiny, right? It would have to be
Well, of
repeatable,
course.
verifiable.
I'm saying that if we could verify it to a great enough degree to your satisfaction, right? To
would have to be a
say that it was curved or round.
Well, are you familiar with FE Core and the laser experiments that they're doing at the moment?
Yeah, but I would not like to get so specific, right? Like I want to know what
Like,
it would take for you, right, to understand that the Earth would be round if it is. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that if it was a globe, right, there should be some way of testing it.
But
in
it's
my
not
mind.
observably a globe, is it? I mean, if you just take your own personal
Okay,
sense,
then let's say it's flat, right? There should be some way of testing whether it's flat or not.
personal experience.
And they all show
But
that
isn't can I ask? Isn't the point that we shouldn't be testing it? It's
Why not?
taught in school as a fact, so there should be proof that it is a fact.
So we should just go from authority.
Well said. So, in other words, as a flat earther, we are in a position where we are absolutely, unequivocally not backed by science. But what science doggedly asserts to our children, and will undoubtedly assert to our children's children, is that the Earth is a sphere, and there isn't any scientific evidence to back that assertion. So when we ask for what's your scientific proof of R, the value used in your mathematics when you tell us the Earth is a sphere, we get crickets. Or we get referred back to a 2,000-year-old experiment which proves nothing.
Or we get the appeal to the whole body of science, or the scientific consensus, or the currently proposed working
Or
model is.
trigonometry based on the stars.
That's all very interesting. I'm not doing that in the moment. I'm just trying to figure out, right? Like if I wanted to know for sure, 100%, without any question, is there a way that we can go about doing that?
Yeah, prove gravity, prove axial rotation, prove curve. Them
Yeah,
three
but
things are needed.
That's
Them three
not a
thing.
way, right? That's
Yeah,
not a
or
way.
a
want to know
public
all three.
space project
how
where
to do it.
people would be allowed to completely test everything on their own, and there would be a lot of requirements that I would basically demand of any future space launches, like have a 24-hour camera rolling during the rocket launch on the rocket that you can see as it launches continually as it goes into space, and as the world is visible then as a globe. So
That would
non-stop
be good
footage, all
though,
that
right?
kind of
Because
stuff.
how would you know it was actually from that camera, right?
Well, that's exactly it. You'd want to do it yourself. So,
yeah,
failing
well,
that, you have to go by what people actually do in the real world. For example, when they build things, well, they build on a flat plane. You don't really need to say any more than that. When it comes to actual things that might affect people's lives if they get it wrong, they're dealing with flat planes.
Every time. Yeah.
Every single
They
time.
fly
When it
on a
comes to
flat
flying,
plane, they build on a flat plane.
Took the words out of my mouth. Exactly,
Right, but
Normie. When it
I'm
comes to
wondering if this
flying,
is
they're
good,
using a
right?
flat
Like
plane.
I don't think that I'd be convinced by that. Like I'm trying to come up with some sort of way of testing this that would be satisfactory to everyone.
Well,
I am pretty sure there are independent, wealthy people that are willing to spend a lot of money to get into a rocket or NASA, SpaceX, whatever, rocket to test this. And they're going to be, people that is trustable, not government or pay agents, people like private.
So shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat, who says, love is not to let Gem Panda die as a globe head. Thank you, Earth is Seriously Flat.
I don't think Jim Panda's a globe head in reality.
Are you thinking
I
Earth
have
is
a,
flat?
I have a
I'm still not
experiment
quite
proposal.
hearing anything.
Would you like to hear it?
Please, yes, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, just thought I was thinking of doing this or arranging it, and you know, I just thought it might be good to explain it to the group, so that I could see if I was being stupid or whatever. But say like at St. Anne's, Blackpool, where we've got miles and miles of flat sand, we'd have like a square on one side. We know the exact dimensions of that square. Then we go a few miles away and have another square of the same thing, that the same height, the same level. Should we see through the camera then some obscurity to that square? So that square would be, you know, smaller in height.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Would that be a good experiment, you think?
Not necessarily. That's what they like to lead us to do, because they like to show us one axis obstruction, which is what you're detailing. So I don't know if you want to click on Mark's icon, but I'll do this again. What you're detailing is having a square here at minus Z and another square here at plus Z, or the other way around, sorry, and then looking across to see if there's any obstruction between the two. But what Mark so eloquently pointed out a couple of shows ago is what you really need to do once you see an obstruction and assume it is a curve that is obstructing, is go onto the other exact axis and look down the same line. And as Chris Monk's demonstrated in his models, from ground level, we should be able to measure a curve to the surface we stand on. We don't. It's never there. You can't measure it. You can't see it. It's always back to the same question. Where is the curvature? There isn't any. But there should be from ground level, and it should get bigger and bigger and bigger as you go up in altitude. It should be pronounced and visible with the human eye from a commercial airliner at 30,000 feet, but we never see it.
So these 2 meter squares that we put miles apart, we look at the camera at them, they're at the same height. They wouldn't be, there would be an explanation as to why they wouldn't be squares, all right? Or if they are squares, there'd be an explanation as to why they stayed being squares.
Well, there's still diffraction applied, so there will be some kind of optical slant effect, especially, we demonstrated this, and you can create this apparent effect even in a very small confined area, like on a table or in a football field, and also on a much larger scale. So there's always going to be, it's never really going to look perfectly straight. There's always the diffraction that applies, and that creates an optical slant.
I'm thinking more of the, like, it's measuring the tilt, isn't it, rather than the curve. It should be
exactly. Now the curve implies a literal, physical shape, but there's just an optical distortion basically, and that causes an apparent slant.
Right.
But the whole thing is that if you move the position of the observer vertically, then the apparent slant migrates.
Yeah.
It migrates its position. So the curve, if it were a literal curve, is then moving, and that is inconsistent with a physical curvature. So it is a purely optical effect.
So if going away from me, I'm in a very open, flat sand field, and I put a stick of 5 foot tall with lines every inch, and I'm looking forward, but then in the same view, I can see 2 sticks 5 foot tall, 5 miles to my left, 5 miles to my right. So I got the wide view. I got 1 stick in the left, 1 stick in the west, 1 stick in the east, and 1 stick looking away from me. If I see a depth, getting obscured from the bottom in front of me, then I should be able to take the picture and throw a straight line and go by pixels. It should be the same inclination. It should be a curve. If I see it in front of me, I see it to the left, I see it to the right. I mean, it has to be there if I'm getting it all in one shot.
Yeah, exactly. If it's curved, it's curved. Another couple of shout outs to Earth is Seriously Fat. He said, love is not letting your children grow up as globers. And if you are a critical thinker, then you are a flat earther. Thanks, Earth is Seriously Flat.
I saw a video, I don't know how I randomly came across this, but some guys firing a 50 cal bullet straight up in the air. Pretty much landed round about where he shot it up.
Really?
How long did it stay in the air?
Cool.
I think it was long, like 2 minutes or something. They had to run for cover. They had their helmets on. It was a dangerous thing.
Can you get us a link for that?
Do you have a link?
Yeah, let me dig it out. I'll find it.
That's kind of funny.
That's a long time. That would be a plenty of time for it to have moved, like, several miles away, according to
Yeah, a few thousand miles away.
Yeah, I did see something like that on
Chad, did we,
YouTube.
did
I
we get to
didn't
the
get to
It
watch
would
it.
move both going upwards and going downwards in the same direction if the Coriolis effect would apply. So,
Chad, did we get to the bottom of where you wanted to go with this?
I'm still looking for like something that we can use to show us for at least with a reasonable amount of assurance that we know what the shape of what we're standing on is.
Okay, let me say something. We can test the curvature, right? And if we find that there's no curvature, then we're left with basically a logical problem, which is that if there's no curvature, it can't be a sphere. And unless there's a third option, a lack of curvature strongly suggests that it's a flat plane, right?
Right, but I want to know how we go about knowing that, like testing that, right? So like if it's
Well, you can use gyroscopes,
I was
or
just
you
about to
could.
say that's what we said first off, which is that the things that matter, that actually require any degree of measurement and a knowledge of the thing you're building on, they always build on flat planes, they always fly on flat planes, and that will never change. So you can ignore those if you choose, but they do prove the plane we live on.
how does that actually prove that what we're standing on is flat?
Well, because a globe has to have a curvature, right? In order to be a globe, a sphere must be curving at all points, right? You understand that?
Right, but if I
and in a
take a
specific
very local
amount.
Let me just
right,
finish the point. So if we can show that there's no curvature that's measurable across any distance, then, like I say, we're just left with a logical conundrum where how can we imagine that it's a sphere without a curvature?
sure.
Right? The only geometry that lacks curvature is a flat plane, unless there's another option that we're not aware of. But I don't
think what I'm having trouble sort of following, right, is that where is the reasoning, or I can't follow your test, right? Like, so you're saying that these things should, if they happen, right, should prove that we're on whatever surface.
Okay, can I ask you a
No.
question?
What it's
Chad?
mostly about is disproving
what about
that
that,
it is
right,
the
test
specific
proves
sphere.
Those are long conversations
Chad.
that we've had on this show. Those are individual cases that we'd have to dig into, right? And they're not. It's not going to be I'm not going to be able to summarize it to you in 30 seconds. Suffice it to say, though, that if you look into engineering blueprints, or if you look at the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration's flight procedures and standards manual, you'll see that they fly according to a flat plane, and that engineers build on a flat plane. This is verifiable in engineering textbooks.
Chad, without any external input, how would somebody conclude the Earth was a globe anyway?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. How would you do that?
No, you're asking us to defend that the Earth's not a globe. How would I know it was a globe?
That was your claim, though. You said it wasn't a globe, and I'm saying, how would I go about testing whether it was or not?
Yeah, but how would you come to the
Find
conclusion
curvature.
that it is a globe if you weren't told so?
It's a simple answer. Normie's
didn't
given it
come
you a
to
couple
a
of times.
conclusion.
I've just got to
I
say it
want to
again,
know
just to reiterate it.
what it
The answer
actually
to your
is.
question is to find curvature.
Yeah.
Measurable
If you can't
curvature.
find the
That's what you
curvature,
need.
all you're left with is the only
Right,
logical possibility.
If I did, let's say we did a test and it was reasonably, we could reason through it, right, and say that if we did this test, this would show us that there was curve, right? Would that prove that we're on a globe?
Yeah.
Yes.
If
Of
it
course
was
it would.
continued everywhere from every location, so if every single person surveyed the same thing, which was to say that you could easily see curve, which would be the case if we were on a sphere, it wouldn't be elusive, but it is.
So if we spread it across a larger area, maybe, is that what you're saying? I'm
No,
saying if we
from
do
every
just one
single
local
vantage
test,
point
right, we could be
beneath.
standing on a particular area that may be curved,
No, not
but
a
that wouldn't
particular
necessarily
area.
prove that.
Any
These
area.
photographs have-
So if you are standing on a spherical surface, it matters not where you stand. Every single surveyable point from your location is curving away from you in every direction. It should be demonstrably obvious that you're on a sphere if you're on a sphere.
And by flat, we really mean you'd be measuring the gravitational potential of any individual spot, right? So that down is the same direction in all places on both models. But, you know, like when you say a particularly flat area, well, then we would have, things would be, if there was like, you know, if it was a globe with a very flat area on it, that, well, things would be falling at an angle at one extreme or another of this extended flat area on the surface of the globe. So you would, you know, if you used a plumb bob or something like that, you'd still be able to determine that the normal down was.
I have a question.
Go
Let's
ahead.
say, just for a hypothetical, that we were on a globe, and we were making this measurements, like you were saying, to try and detect this curve at various points. What if the globe object that we're standing on was, well, let's just get ridiculous. Let's just say it was universe sized.
Well, then it's not a globe of the presumed dimensions, now is it?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
the problem.
asking.
You have to have this R value adhered to in order for all of the mathematics that they've based this nonsense on to work with the heavens. So you have to have a specific size globe. So just saying, well, it could just be bigger. Well, no. The heliocentric system dictates how big that sphere should be.
You're adding things to what my question was. I did not. This is a completely and utterly hypothetical. It means nothing. It's just a thought experiment.
Well, what's the size of the universe then?
I don't know. Let's make it 1 billion miles in diameter.
Well, that would have a lot of consequences for the workings, let's say, of turbulence on all the air, on all that surface.
And there would still be a lot of land to discover.
Yeah, that also.
Exactly.
With
we
that
should
amount of
we should
land,
want to
I mean, in
explore
essence,
it without being held back.
With that as the thought experiment, you are in essence describing the flat Earth infinite plane idea. You know, because if you have an imperceivable amount of curve because of the absolute enormous amount of land that you're proposing, then it's essentially imperceivable, like completely imperceivable. Therefore, you're just describing the infinite plane that some flat earthers believe we live on.
But there would be some other consequences as well. Just imagine that gravitational pull would actually function as described. Well, then if there was a universe-sized globe, then
But we haven't taken anything into account like that, right?
How could we survive not being squished?
But we can't take anything like that into account because it hasn't been put into the test, right? Like we're not testing for any of those things. We're testing just for the detection of
But
curvature.
gravitational pull is an essential mechanic in how the globe is supposed to function. It's a fine-tuned balance with the downward acceleration force trying to explain it, given causal explanation.
It doesn't matter for this particular test. You don't test things like that, right? Like you don't test like the quantity of the alphabet by looking at the shape of the letters, right? You want to have a very specific test for a specific thing and only do that.
Yeah, well,
how do we test how water sticks to the outside of the sphere?
I've heard this argument.
I wasn't talking about that.
I've heard this argument about you know, we could separate the globe, the shape of the globe test from gravity.
I'm not arguing.
It's kind of, sorry, yeah, argument, strong term. I didn't mean like this this idea that we can separate the two arguments. And we can't really, can we? Because if it is a sphere, there has to be an explanation for like being upside down on it. And
sure.
So
sure, there would, but like we would do that after we detected what we're actually on, right? Like so, like we would have to come up with explanations somehow, right? We would bring about further tests. In my opinion, this is my opinion. I'm not a scientist. I don't know any of these things for sure, but like if I were to think about it logically, in my mind, for me, if I wanted to know the shape of what I'm standing on, I would have to. It wouldn't matter to me anything peripherally about what it is, about how it was there, right? I would just.
If you really want to physically and definitively measure the shape of the surface of the Earth, then you would have to do it physically by a ruler system, by
But
having
also, do you
a
think that
perfectly flat line, maybe a laser or maybe a giant constructed ruler system, and they actually measure it if it is flat, hold it over a giant lake, see if there is a curve or if it is just perfectly flat.
Yeah, it's like
just generalized observations are good, then optics will apply. So
Right.
observations will not prove if it is curved. You have to actually physically measure it.
But to
Okay,
make the claim of a curve, it seems like to make the claim of a curve, there has to be some explanation of why we don't fall off it. And it's like me, I guess, saying,
Well, sure. I'm not denying that.
yeah, I'm stood on top of water. That's instantly debunked me claiming I'm stood on top of water, unless I have some explanation of how I can stand on top of water without falling down. And they are tightly coupled, don't you think? The two things, gravity and the shape.
I don't know. What
Right.
I'm asking
It's
is
not
if
necessarily,
what
because
shape
on a
is
flat
it?
Earth, there's just no causal explanation for gravity or the downward acceleration force. And the globe has it tied in that a causal explanation as to why gravitational pull causes the downward acceleration force, and it's tied in with the actual shape of the Earth. So it's
Yeah, it needs it, doesn't
they melted it together into
Is the
one
Earth-
system.
Yeah,
Is
it
the
needs
Earth-
it in order to propose the globe. It needs it, doesn't it? Or else it's
Yeah, it does.
And
Okay.
then you got to remember all of that is reversed on the underside of a ball.
But you're
So
putting,
now
you're
up is
adding
down
on
and
things
down
that
is
we
up.
don't know also that we would have to test, right? Like, so you're saying that we need all these things, but I don't know that. I just want to know what it is that we're standing on. What is it?
Ruler.
Okay, but all
How
right,
would-
can I ask you a
how would I
question?
use a ruler to test what we're standing on, like what the shape it is?
Yeah, it's called
Well-
a rectilineator. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you dislike this show, you know what to do. But if you like the show, be sure to give it a like, maybe subscribe and share the show with others. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!